As the 49ers approach the end of their bye week, multiple updates suggest that they're in a way better position than we originally thought. These updates suggest that multiple important impact players will be returning to the field very soon, as well as the Niners not closing the door on their most important player from seeing the field for the rest of the season just yet. We're going to break that all down for you on this episode of Niners Digest. My name is Ethan Galbraith. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any Niners updates. We're going to give you everything we got, including everything you need to know for the Niners as they head to the end of their bye week and begin the home stretch of the season. This is it. They got 4 games left, 3 of which are extremely important against conference or playoff opponents. And there's been a huge shakeup in the scheduling of, or the standings, should I say, because at the time of this recording, we're waiting for the rest of this week's games to occur, but the Detroit Lions have already defeated the Dallas Cowboys, which puts the Cowboys now at a pretty farther distance away from the Niners, who are still, as I've mentioned, they're the last one in. They've been at the 7th seed for a while, despite their winning streak. But here come the Lions now, only 1 game behind the Niners. So the field is beginning to shrink. You've noticed teams at the bottom are officially getting eliminated from the playoffs. It's going to make for a very interesting final stretch of the season because, of course, the Niners play 2 other NFC playoff teams. They got the Bears and the Seahawks to end the season, but even before that, they have to play the Colts and the Titans. It's not going to be an easy stretch, but there's 2 big reasons to believe that the Niners are in a really good position, even better than some originally thought, heading into the final stretch after the bye week. Well, for starters, historically, the Niners have played great under the bye. If you look at these statistics, under Kyle Shanahan, the Niners flip a switch after the bye week, which, for those of you who remember, of course, the 2021 and 2022 seasons, they started off slow, they started off rocky, and then they went down the stretch and they dominated. So this season is not quite the same because of, again, despite all of the injuries, the Niners have maintained well above 500 records and they're sitting at 9-4. But if history does repeat itself, or if it at least rhymes, the Niners should continue their winning ways out of the bye week and starting next week with the Tennessee Titans. So that's the first reason. There is history to back up that the Niners will continue to win games, especially in this important stretch after the bye. But the next big reason is the defense. The defense has stepped up immensely in the last 3 games, especially all wins, of course. Chase Sr. breaks it down perfectly here with, the Niners have given up 22, 9, 8 points in the last 3 games. They forced 7 turnovers as well, and rushing yards as well. They gave up a solid amount to Cleveland, but before that, they weren't giving up any rushing yards. And so that is a huge deal because, and Chase Sr. puts it in a very specific phrasing, and I think that he's right with all of the injuries that the Niners have faced. And it's not just they're an injured team. They are quite literally the most injured team. Looking at this statistic here, the Niners account for the most games missed from players from injury. And of course, that's headlined by so many of the season-ending injuries that the Niners have on both offense and defense. But of course, Brock Purdy missed multiple games, so did George Kittle. So there's a lot of long-term injuries that the Niners have had to face that accounts for them being the most injured team in terms of games missed. But at the bottom, you notice that they have the same amount of wins as the next 3 most injured teams have combined. And I think that is, of course, accounts for the next man up mentality. I've mentioned that multiple times before, but I think that also accounts for the coaching staff and for the wonderful effort that they've put in, especially on the defensive side. Robert Saleh, Chase Sr. talked about it in his message. Robert Saleh and his defensive staff have kept this defense just chugging along. They've been playing great football. They've been getting better even down the stretch, which is not something that I think a lot of people were expecting because the defense continued to suffer more injuries. Nick Bosa, it all started with Nick Bosa in week 3 with his ACL tear. It just has not gotten much better, but this leads into why they're in a better position because the Niners will be getting reinforcements very soon. These are 4 important players that the Niners will be getting back. Even the kicker. Even the Niners have dealt with an injury to the kicker. You cannot make this up. But nonetheless, 4 key players should be coming back very soon after the bye week. And Tatum Bethune especially is a player that I'm very excited for him to come back, of course, because before his injury versus the Cardinals, Tatum Bethune was playing lights out football. He was filling in for Fred Warner very well, which again is a monumental task. Some would say even impossible. And Tatum Bethune was playing pretty well, pretty good football. And for him to come back, especially with this home stretch and the Niners defense playing already so well, that's going to be huge. As well as, the defensive line help. That's still the Achilles heel of this defense. They struggle to get quarterback pressure consistently. But going back to Bethune really quickly, this list of the top tacklers on the defense really show how well Bethune has been playing. He was second in total tackles for the team, second only behind D. Winters, and Bethune has played 2 fewer games. So I think that just shows his impact and what Niners fans can expect from him once he comes back. But Tatum Bethune might not be the only linebacker who could be coming back in the near future, because the Niners have been very interesting with their vocabulary and how they've been discussing Fred Warner's injury. Of course, Fred Warner has been out since the Tampa Bay game in October. It was looking like he would not come back this season, but they never called it really a season-ending injury. And John Lynch kind of added only more fuel to the fire that is this speculation this week, because he said, when asked about Fred Warner's potential return, should the Niners make the playoffs, they would be playing football in January and potentially February. He goes, well, medically, no. I mean, the docs say it's probably on the wrong side of the range that they would suggest, but even the docs with Fred say, you know what, let him rehab as if he's coming back for something, and we'll see where he's at. We'll see where he's at. That is something that, again, as Niners fans, you don't want to get your hopes up. You don't want to get him too high just to find out in a couple weeks that he's not coming back for the rest of the season. But the fact that there's even enough speculation after the injury that Warner suffered, there's reason to hold out hope. And of course, Fred Warner is the biggest game changer, in my opinion, on this team, and arguably the biggest game changer in the entire NFL. This is the best linebacker in football. And while the Niners defense has played well in his absence, the ceiling is so much lower without him. So if the Niners are to get into the playoffs and they are to add Fred Warner at some point during this playoff run, who knows what that ceiling is. Of course, they have a lot of other injuries, but I think my opinion on the matter is I don't think the Niners can win a Super Bowl without Fred Warner. With Fred Warner, though, all bets are off the table. We've seen the NFC's finest go down in very confusing results. The NFC is wide open. In my last video, I talked about John Lynch himself said that it's going to come down to who's healthy. And if the Niners can get Fred Warner back for a playoff run, it probably wouldn't be, a first or second round thing. But Kyle Shanahan has always made it, as the Niners head coach, at least to the NFC Championship game. So that's the 3rd week of January, still a ways away. I'm not saying he's coming back, but what I am saying is if the Niners can get Fred Warner back, that's a game changer for the entire NFC playoffs. That's a game changer for a potential Super Bowl matchup. The cards are shuffled if Fred Warner comes back into the lineup healthy. And of course, you don't want to risk injuring him long term, but nobody wants a Super Bowl ring more than Fred Warner. He's come up short twice. If he sees an opening to get his team to the Super Bowl, he's going to play. If he gets medically cleared, good luck trying to stop him. And I think my final thoughts on this, as the updates as a whole, as well as the Fred Warner situation, are very similar, because Steve Young, Niners legend Steve Young, was asked about where the Niners really stand with the NFC. And he said, who wants to play the Niners? Nobody. So for where they are with the personnel and what's happened, it's pretty remarkable. I think we've got to tip our cap to really everyone in the organization right now to be 9-4. He said it perfectly. The Niners, by all logic, should not be 9-4. You saw the other most injured teams in the NFL and their records. The Niners are an anomaly. So because this has gone on for as long as it has, you really start to wonder, can this team really do something more than just get into the playoffs? Because a few weeks ago, after the Rams lost, there were questions of if the Niners were going to run out of gas and they just would not be able to make the playoffs, which would have been fair. But here we are almost a month later, and the Niners are very much still in the playoff race, multiple games above 500, and we're no longer talking about making the playoffs. We're talking about what can the Niners do in the playoffs, and if they get certain players back, who knows what that looks like. I want to end this video though with a very important update. Niners linebacker Curtis Robinson was named the Niners nominee for the NFL's Walter Payton Man of the Year award. This is a huge deal. Of course, to be recognized by your team for your work on and off the field is huge. And Robinson, of course, has stepped up as of late, with all of the Niners' injuries to the linebacker room. And he's played well, but of course, for his work off the field, to be recognized for both, it's a big deal. Many consider this to be the NFL's most prestigious award. So congratulations to Curtis Robinson. That's awesome. And Robinson, of course, has been a huge X factor for the Niners defense, especially in the last 3 weeks during their wins and their great defensive performances. He will likely continue to be the same until the cavalry, the reinforcements come, which might be sooner than we think. So we'll keep you updated, of course, on all of those players. There's injury updates and if and when we expect them to return. But for now, that's all for this episode of Niners Digest. My name is Ethan Galbraith. Thank you again so much for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.